name is Marie-Pier Tremblay, and today I want to answer the question about my self-portrait series. For a few times I've been asking, do you have any question that you would like me to answer? And some of them are inside this book. So I'm very excited to finally get you guys all a Q&A about self-portrait series. First question was, who and what are some of your greatest teacher for art? And the first thing that popped to my head for that was Frida. Frida was making art that I felt was dark and, with blood, with her story, with pain. And that's something that I felt very inspired by. And one of the painting is her on the hospital bed and with cables coming out of her belly, and there was something that was very raw and intense in that. And also the fact that she would make body casts and paint over it, or use the body cast of her own body because of the tragedy she lived, and just use the tragedy and turn that into art and beauty. That's what inspired me to make the body cast. From the body cast I made the self-portrait. Frida is definitely a teacher for me. And other than that, I don't have that much. I try to really find inspiration within the 4 elements of nature: water, fire, earth, and air. Second question, do you get visual inspiration from anything? I kind of already answered that. Definitely water, going at the beach and just looking at waves crashing, and going on the beach with a journal and just sketching, fun portraits or makeup ideas, dress. I feel like I'm very inspired by sound. I don't want to look at too much things because I don't want to be influenced, and that's why I like silence a lot. Things can come to you in darkness, and without the visual stimulation, I feel things can rise much more often within me. And that's my visual inspiration, is closing my eyes and being in dark. Third question, do you inhabit characters when you pose? And if so, is it ever difficult to switch back after? That's a great question from the last series I just did. Because I used the eye contact that are white and my face was painted blue, tons of textures and lines, it was hard to switch back because I just kept seeing my blue face as I walked, and I just have this intense blue, white eyes face keep popping in my head. The characters I was embodying was not difficult to switch back. It was more the intensity of the visual were still imprinted in my aura, and it was hard to let that image go. Also, when I take time afterwards and I edit the picture, I look at what I've made, it felt very strong. It felt like this character has something, it has this very intense, it has a spirit. each characters that I do have their own names, they have their own magic. So yes, I guess it is sometimes difficult to switch back to my normal self. But they are always safe. That's why I'm always surprised. They're safe to embody. When I paint over my face and I go back to my animalistic nature or my sensual, ancestral lineage, it is safe. It's an environment that I am not feeling like possessed or becoming something I'm not. It is always very aligned and very safe. And it's not something that I feel is a mask that I'm putting on. It's something that just flows through me. And once it's out, and when I stop my camera, and when I say thank you, one of the most important thing I always say is to thank the spirit and to thank my fans and my audience, for people that are interested in watching this process. I feel then it's close, and I can switch back to myself, and everything has actually impacted me in a beautiful way, so it can impact the world also in a beautiful way, in a safe way, where I'm not manipulating ideas, I'm not like overstimulating, I'm just expressing something raw and natural. So, fourth question, in French, as-tu des racines autres que du Québec? I'm gonna answer it in French first and then do the English version. Oui, j'ai des racines autres que du Québec. Je suis à moitié québécoise et à moitié marocaine. Le côté marocain est en fait très inconnu pour moi parce que je n'ai jamais été au Maroc. Mon père a déménagé du Maroc jusqu'au Québec pour étudier en Océanie. Et la seule chose qu'on connaît sur lui, c'est que son nom était Mohamed. Puis il est retourné au Maroc et ma mère ne savait pas qu'elle était enceinte. Donc, je n'ai jamais pu grandir avec mon père. La seule chose que je connais, c'est qu'il était 100% marocain et qu'il aimait l'océan. In English, do you have roots others than from Quebec, from my Canadian roots? And yes, I am half French Canadian and half Moroccan. My father is from Morocco, and he moved to Quebec to study at the Institute of Maritime of Quebec, which is like a program to study like the ocean and to navigate the sea. And he was very passionate about water, and he moved back to Morocco, met my mom very briefly. She got pregnant, didn't know she was, and all she knew was his name, Mohammed. And that started the mystery of who is my dad. How am I gonna ever find my dad? Because there was at a time where there was no Facebook or contact, and he moved back home to Morocco. So yeah, this is something like I really want to know who is my dad. I'm so connected to the roots of Morocco, to this flavor. You know, I love Moroccan food, I love Moroccan everything. I like the Marrakesh old pastel pink walls that crumbles through times. That is really something that I always feel like my taste comes from. I'm not so much of a Canadian wood woman. I'm more of a desert heat, ancestral and old spirit. Yeah, my roots definitely inspire my series. fifth question, how often do you work on a project, and when do you know it is time to create? How often? Not that often. On a project, many projects are kind of like happening in my mind, but if we speak just about self-portrait, I would say not that often. I try to do 1 or 2 a month because they take their own time to be birthed into this world. If I just do them every day, there's no time for the ideas and the team to really come together. In my set, I make space for ideas to come on their own time. And I'm just gonna place one object and see if this object has something else that it wants to collaborate with. It can start with the shell, and then it can have like a sphinx coming through. It can have like a blue, a pink, a black. Is it white? So I'm kind of like in a slower tempo when it comes to making a set and introducing my body, my portrait into it. The makeup is its own world as well. So to make them every week will be not very authentic. It would not really come from something else than just ideas that I want to do. I want to collaborate with the rhythm of nature and with beautiful objects that I might find on the street, or I may go to like an antique store and be like just wandering around and then see this one thing that this complement that other object so well. So let me put them together and see if a portrait can come and play. So I try to do once a month for my self-portrait. And the self-portrait is often like a whole day. So I will start in the morning and shoot with this angle, bring the camera to the other side in the front, and then do a makeup that continue. I would add colors, or I would change the hair, I would change the background. The whole day I get to experiment in different corners of the house with different light. So it's a big day when it comes. And usually I have like, within one shoot, it looks like I've done like 4. So once a month is about what I can handle for a self-portrait. Last question, how do you continue to build such an amazing portfolio? Also, what is the overall message in your artistry? So how do I continue to build such an amazing portfolio? Well, thank you for appreciating the art. And you know, I kind of like continue what I was saying, to just like take my time and to not rush and to be very mindful when I create, because a creation takes space for it, my energy, but also like the technology energy, the computer space, and all is running. So if I give it space and I give it just a certain amount of space, within that small amount, greatness and quality comes. So that would be my answer for that. Also, what is the overall message in your artistry? An overall message, I think I'm going to be influenced by a quote. Life is not a problem to solve, but a mystery to live. So my overall message is to live the mystery. Is not to find meanings in what I've just made, but to experience this mysterious being that is showing up. I want to bring feelings. I want to bring sense of wonder and inspiration. So the overall message, if there is a message, is that my life, my art is mystery and brings in wonder and magic. It doesn't tell you anything else than just be raw. Like open your being to something. Feel it and just experience how weird, how dark, how beautiful, how sensual things are in that moment. That is all for the Q&A on self-portrait. Thank you so much everyone that participated in asking questions about my art. I am so grateful that I get to make, self-portrait and photography and art in this time. I feel always like so stoked that I get to wake up and come to this space and figure out what I'm gonna make next. And there's nothing more beautiful that when life is like letting you have that time, letting you have that quality of life where you get to express yourself the way you want without cares of nothing else. And I am so thankful that I'm given that. I don't work a job 9 to 5. I live very simply. And I choose this. And I defend this. This is so important. And I don't want, my head to be like, oh, I need to make more, or what about money, what about this, let's forget about that, let's prioritize what other people prioritize or tells me what to do. In life you have to defend what is true, your voice and your expression, and this is so important for me. And right now I'm only photographing with an iPhone 8 from like 8 years ago. I never upgraded to that because I live so simply, and I had immigration to go through, coming to America, and it was not easy. So this is what I have right now, and even with very little I feel so happy because I get to make something with what I have and it works. So sometimes we give ourselves excuses, but there's no excuse, and when you really want something you do it. So thank you for your time, and I cannot wait to show you what's next. Thank you.